Alright, greetings everybody. Glad you all can make it back. We're going to get into the second half of our session here. Let's go ahead and turn on Discord, see how everybody's been doing. Hello everyone.
Hello. Did you enjoy that little thing that I sent in chat? Jordan?
What did you send in chat?
Discord.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy that?
It's good. Yep.
Dude, my brother died from that. It was so good.
That's the first legal beer I ever drank, actually.
Really?
Yes, indeed.
I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure it's mine too.
I was 18 years old in Fort Bliss, Texas.
Right, because legal age is 18 down there, right?
Only on base.
Only on base.
Only on base. On base, legal age is 18. I think that has since changed, but yes. Back in the day, that's what it was.
How old are you, Jordan?
I was 18. That was...
No, I meant now.
Oh, that was 9 years ago. Almost, about 9.5 years ago. I am 27 currently.
Okay, so you're like literally around my brother's age. Okay. You'll be 28 this year, or did you recently? No, wait. You recently turned 27.
I will be 28 this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my brother will be turning. Oh fuck.
Anyway, now that all of that is,
He'll be 27. Jesus, I almost forgot how old I was. Damn, that was real bad.
Now that all of that is handled and we figured out how to math, let's get back to what everybody's doing. We had our little religious district entertainment. I assume that that all of you have kind of done your typical traditional things. I think there is one thing that Farron wants to do, however.
Well,
or not, maybe, perhaps?
I need to go feed Noct. That's what I need to do. He's getting ravenous.
True, he might have eaten one of the horses already.
He might have.
You should probably go check on that.
Well, if he did, there's not even going to be blood, so it's fine.
It's true.
It'll just be gone.
Just eats it in one gulp. Okay, so you're going to go feed Noct. Hannibal is going to go visit the Thunderer clan. Cool. Awesome. Fantastic. Are you back, Will? Because I know there's a thing that you wanted to do.
Yes. I will be going to the Thieves Guild.
Indeed. Or
I
at least
can't go with you anymore. Oh no!
At least to their last known location, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why I moved everybody back, so let's go ahead and go back here. So the last known location of the Thieves Guild was the Gaggle Hut. That was the last known location of the Thieves Guild. So, you head down to the Gaggle Hut. And when you arrive, you do the, go in, go to the basement level, take the ladder up to the third level, cross over the rooftops, go down through to the second level, take the stairs down into the lobby of a different building, pull up the hatch, go into the basement, crawl underneath the street again via tunnel, and then that's where you find the Thieves Guild.
Indeed.
And when you get there, you realize that they are still there. And opening up the door is it's actually the snake-faced man's wife. That opens the door, and you can see like she's got a dagger probably tucked in her in like her jerkin, and she's like kind of gripping onto it as she slides a little thing open to see who it is. She recognizes you and she slides it closed and she unlocks the door and opens it up. And you enter in, and it appears to be a little more sparse than you last remembered it. It looks like they may be in the process of moving. I was going to say bosom, was what I was going to say, to be fair. Yeah, bosom. Exactly. And yeah, it looks like they might be in the process of moving. The furniture has been removed through God knows how, because certainly didn't go out the front doors.
Yeah.
Hold on one moment.
Cat's losing her damn mind.
My apologies.
Cat, alright?
I just go spray a cat real quick.
Oh.
So yes. She says, Farron, it's good to see you. What do you need?
Hi, it's good to see you again, Mrs. I don't actually know her name.
They never gave it to you.
It's great to see you again too. I'm wondering if Mr. Snake Man is here again.
Yeah, you say that and she kind of chuckles. She's like, he does quite look like a snake, doesn't he? I hope that's not passed on to our children. And you can see kind of hiding at her skirt, like behind her dress, is like a young girl with like pigtails, and she kind of like looks out from the side, and you can tell already she's got kind of the narrow eyes and the kind of sallow cheeks, and you can tell it was a joke. She's gonna look exactly like her dad.
Is this your beautiful child? As I crouch down, kind of to look at her, and I take a copper piece and do the "it's in this hand." No, it's in this hand. Magic trick.
Sure, yeah, totally.
Give it to her.
Yeah, and you can see that when you give it to her, she tries to do the same thing. She's not half bad. She's not half bad. She's just got to get the slight part of the sleight of hand down.
Yeah.
And she says, he should be back any minute now. We're waiting. He went to go find us a new place, as this was getting a bit crowded since the struggle has died down.
Yes. That would certainly be prudent of you. But yes, if it's okay, I'm fine waiting around for him.
Oh yes, it's perfectly fine. Yes. And she's like, here, I can get some tea. I think it's the best we have.
Oh, am I getting the noble service here? As I give a chuckle.
She kind of chuckles. She's like, well, let me be clear. It's just some leaves that I put in water, so it doesn't taste quite like water.
Well, I've had much worse in my day.
Yeah, and she chuckles. She says, yes, well, at least the water is drinkable now. And you can see she goes and begins to prepare tea. And as you're sitting there, there's probably like an elderly man that's kind of sitting in the other corner. He like coughs a few times. And there's probably another couple of children that are like running around or playing with like pieces of wood on the ground. Clearly playing some game that only they know and could possibly ever understand. You hear a light on the door, you see the snake-faced man's wife comes trembling out, like wiping her hands on her dress, and she's like, I wonder who that could be. She goes to the door and she opens up and she gives like a little gasp. She's like, oh. She closes it and she unlocks it quickly and opens it up and gives like a very like kind of almost tries to curtsy but doesn't have the courtly manner about her. And walking in is Mel.
Of course.
And she just kind of like walks in and like looks around and she's like, oh, Farron, I had no idea you'd be here.
Oh, is that right? Sorry, forgive me. Should I bow as well to Mel?
No, that won't be necessary. I don't like titles. And then she turns to the woman. She's like, "Close the door. You'll let in the draft." And the woman, quickly, like, kind of hurriedly, like, closes the door and locks it. And Mel walks over and she, like, spins a chair around and sits down on it backwards, like, facing you, and puts her arms, like, kind of on the back of the chair, and she just kind of looks at you and she's like, "So, fancy."
Aye, indeed. So, should we ask each other why we're here, or should we be civil enough to keep our mouths shut?
I think she just smiles and she says, "Oh, Farron, you mistake me. I've known you've been here since the first time you were here."
Aye, I'm sure you would have.
See, Farron, there are very few things that come into this town or go out of this town that I'm not aware of. And you can tell immediately her demeanor is a bit different as she's addressing you in this moment. A bit more serious, a bit less kind of like lighthearted. But still with that traditional smile on her face. And she says, "So far, you've held yourself up amicably, and for that I am grateful. You've helped these people, and that is good. But understand that there does come a time when the weak must be culled."
I know that all too well, Mel.
Those that can't keep up, you understand.
Indeed, I knew that all too well growing up.
Good. This is good. You have a good head about your shoulders, Farron. Perhaps someday we can work together. But for now, and she kind of, like, cranes her head as if, like, listening to the door. And we hear just a few moments later, as the door opens and the snake-faced man enters. Mel kind of turns to you and says, "Au revoir," and spins the chair back around and goes over to the snake-faced man and says, "Ah, Gregory, it is good to see you again." And he kind of, like, he catches for a moment, his eyes go wide, and then he, like, quickly does a survey of the room and sees you in there and kind of frowns and he says, "Abby, what can I do for you?" She's like, "Oh, none of that now, dearie. Here." And she pulls out, like, a small pouch and drops it in his hands. And he kind of, like, opens it up and he nods and he says, he tightens it and ties it back on and he says, "This is good. We don't have anything right now." And she's like, she waves her hand. She's like, "That's fine. Did want to let you know, though, that you're going to be in charge. I'll be away for a time. A couple months, perhaps." He nods and he says, "Oh, okay. But, okay, yes, I can certainly do that." She's like, Good. Also," and she kind of, like, turns back to you, Farron, and says, "This one will be coming with me, so you won't have to deal with him any longer. I know how unfortunate that must be for you. He was one of the best." And he kind of gives, like, a kind of a forced smile and says, yeah, he was." And she kind of, like, she like licks her thumb and, like, wipes something off of his cheek and she says, run along now." And she opens the door and she says, "I'll see you later, Farron," and closes it behind her.
Oh, so this is Mel then.
Do you say that, like, out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, the snake-faced man, who you understand to be Gregory now, he kind of, like, he tucks the pouch and he goes, "Who?"
Hi. Never mind, it's just the alias she's giving around at this time.
He's like, you mean Abby? Yeah. And he kind of, like, trails off a little bit, and he shakes it, regains his composure, and says, how can I help you, Farron?"
Well, it seems that what I came here to find out has already been found. So, You have done your job amicably, I must say. Here, for your trouble, as I fling him a silver.
Yeah, and he catches it and kind of rolls it between his fingers, and he says, "Thank you, Farron. That is most kind."
Aye, well, seeing as I'm here already, if you have time, why don't we have a pleasant chat before I have to depart from this place?
Yeah, and then as you say that, like, the tea comes out, and you guys have hot, kind of piping tea set in front of you, and you speak to Gregory probably more, or I should say less formally than you have in previous times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys begin, you had a professional relationship now, and now it's becoming more than that, right? It's becoming more of a friendly relationship at this point. Do you ask him anything in specific, or is it simply just small talk?
No, simply small talk. I now grasp the actual identity of Mel. So.
Indeed. And perhaps that gives you some insight into other things, like how certain other individuals know everything going on. So, going back to the rest of the group, you feed Noct Kree. Noct is very grateful for his meal. And probably when you walk in, he's probably like sniffing at some of the chickens or something.
One of the chickens is for sure gone.
You throw a rock at him, and he shakes it off and kind of shudders and eats his meal of whatever you caught him. And you can see that, like, he seems antsy, like ready to go. He's tired of being in the city for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, do you do anything else while you're there?
Well, I don't really have I have a sound form. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount that up on him.
Yeah.
Just get ready for travel. Pack my bags. Make sure all my weapons are still intact. Pretty much, just get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Travel away.
Absolutely. So we see kind of you, like, saddling up everything and preparing everything. The stable boy, who you probably at least know by sight, he probably is, like, around the corner, like, eyeing you kind of strangely. But
he's
you
probably
can see,
stalked me in my sleep.
You can see he's clearly been given orders to like rush down the horses or whatever, but is, like, waiting for you to, like, is always on, like, the opposite end of the stables that you are. And as you're out there, we see that, in fact, you see it first. You see a group of Red Hand guards, which are the Count's personal bodyguard. They're in armor with their weapons, and they're mounted. And there's 6 of them, and they each also have a horse in tow.
Are they on the horses, you said?
They are on horses, and also
they all have 2 horses.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And they literally just, like, they show up at the stables. And the leader of them begins to dismount. And you see him, like, click over for the stable boy to approach. And he instructs the stable boy to begin stabling the 6 additional horses. And they haven't spotted you or are ignoring you, and they begin to walk in, but you could address them if you wanted to.
I'm actually going to. I'm going to walk over, and do I know if these are fine horses or not?
That would require a check. Roll me a nature roll. They look pretty good. They look like pretty good breeding stock.
Okay, so they're definitely not war horses.
They are not. Yeah, they are not war horses. With a 14, you could probably gather that they are not like stallions bred for charges or actual combat.
They're travel horses,
but they are bred for distance. All of them are very stout and very stocky, and they all appear to have a lot of endurance in their general build.
Okay. So I'm gonna look up and address the knights, or actually, just look at them. Probably looking down, actually.
They are. Yeah. They are dismounted, so yes.
Yeah. I was thinking like they're still on their horses, but no, they're on the ground.
Yeah.
Addressing them, just bringing in a new stock of horses. What are these little guys for? Emphasis on the little.
Yeah, and the red hand with like his helmet on, he turns to you and he says, "These are the Count's horses. They're here for the heroes, so that they may travel farther."
Oh, finally a group that can travel on horseback. This will be fantastic.
Yeah,
and he like kind of stalks over to the horses.
Yeah, he probably says, "Well, riding is different than traveling."
True. Very, very true.
So I guess the people who are inside is Arkady, Morella. You've probably returned by this point.
Probably just returned.
Yeah. So it's probably the two of you, and Aelin, you probably returned as well by this point. So it's the three of you, maybe packing up or in the common room or whatever, and you see these 6 red-hand knights walk in. And they kind of look around. Arkady, you're probably like doing your ambassador stuff at a table or something, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So they walk up to you and they give you their salute is a bit more traditional. They touch one finger like curved up to their brow at you, and they bow and they say, "Hornholder, we have a delivery from the Count."
May I receive it here?
The one new knight in the back kind of laughs and quickly gets like a jab in the ribs from his superior, and a dirty look is tossed over the shoulder, and he says, "Hornholder, they are horses for your travel. The Count has learned of some dire news, and he wishes to provide you with means of transportation, as he has heard that you will travel."
The Count is a generous and impressively well-informed man. We are indeed traveling as soon as possible. You'll relay our thanks to him, yes?
He kind of, he smiles and he says, "The Count has told me to say to you this." And he kind of like clears his throat as if he, is going to reiterate the words as eloquently as possible as his ruler would in this moment. And he says, "For the heroes of Nuln, I provide to you these 6 finely bred stock horses." And he's like struggling, but not because he doesn't know the words, because he's nervous. And he says, "Imported directly from Averland, from their finest breeders. You should take these gift in addition to," and he like snaps his fingers. And we see there's one of his subordinates like comes up with a chest. It's probably about the size of, let's see. This is the part where I look around my house to see the size of something. It's probably about the size of like a computer case, like a standard size computer case. And he sets it down, and he pulls out a key, and he puts it in, he opens it up, and he opens up the lid. And he says, "This generous gift of 1,000 gold coins for the heroes to split among themselves as they see fit, for their traveling expenses. And as he opens up, you can see there's 1,000 gold coins in the case.
Yeah, Arkady doesn't try to hide that he is kind of surprised by this, because he figures that it would be rude probably to downplay the fact that he's actually pretty excited to have money for once.
Yeah. And he also says, the Count also has a request of the Hornholder and group. When you arrive at your destination, he wishes you to bring a message to the ruling... what would he say, actually? He'd probably say the Emperor's Council. To inform the Emperor's Council that the forces of Nuln will muster and arrive within 2 months' time. And he's saying all this, like, clearly, like, without context, somebody may not understand what the fuck he's talking about, right? But you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems designed like that on purpose.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, he may be certain this message will be delivered as requested, and we are grateful to provide further service in exchange for his continued generosity.
Yeah, and he nods and he says, I will deliver your response. Thank you, Hornholder. And he gives you the salute and bows again. And the rest of them kind of murmur the same. And after he does it, he says, if you have no further need of us, Hornholder.
No, please, you're dismissed.
Yep, and
Arkady returns the same sort of salute.
Yeah, and they turn on heel and depart back. They file back out. And maybe Aelin and Marilla, maybe you're like sitting at a table, like having some late morning, like, you know, sips of water, because Arkady probably is using the whole table for all of his shit. You just like walk out.
Here, hold my horn.
Yeah. So, Arkady, you have been given a generous gift, although one that is probably required. And will definitely provide you with the means for much quicker transportation than previous. It should be noted that traveling by boat may still be faster or as fast. But, like...
I don't know, is there such a thing as a road kraken?
Yes, there is. They're called land sharks.
Yeah. The advantage in this case would be that when you arrived, you would have horses, right? Like,
yeah,
that would be the advantage of this instead of
taking
we want
the
boat.
Flexibility.
Yeah, right. And taking the boat, and it would be about the same amount of time because you have to go downriver, which would be quicker, but then you have to go back upriver, and then you still have there's still a bit of land travel based on the map to get to where you need to go. So like you travel to Altdorf, and then you take a small river that leads you up to like Delsberg, and then you still have to take a road, or Delbers, and then you still have to take a road like quite a week or two north. So taking horses would be just as efficient in this case.
Right. Well, relay that to the rest of the party then.
Yeah, totally. And everybody can basically be there. And obviously you have an extra horse as well for carrying loot. Because I don't think Kree will be riding one of these horses. For obvious reasons.
But he is taking care of the horses right now. He's acquainting himself with them.
And you guys have a mounted warrior who knows how to do that now. So that's also probably good. Yeah. Jackson asked if you can take the horses on the boat. You could, certainly.
Costs a lot.
Well, price probably wouldn't be a huge thing. For in this instance, because you could probably find a boat for pretty cheap and get over there. The problem is the horses might have issues being on boats for the first part, and also it's much more of a liability. Like, if the horses are on the boat and it sinks, like, you got to save the horses now. So, yeah. But that is a thing you could consider if you wanted to. I also assume there's going to be a small pit stop along your journey in Altdorf, since that is on your way, literally on the way there.
Seems like a safe guess.
Cool. Awesome. So, with this gift delivered, and your message returned, it seems as though Arkady, the Count, has been made aware through whatever means he may have, be it, his
almost
own...
as good as mine, still nowhere near as good as Aylin's.
Well, I mean, right, but he may have... I mean, you've told a few people, and Aylin's told a few people who may have informed him as well, so his contacts are probably not as good as yours, certainly. Anyway, you all are back, after doing your various tasks. Mel joins you, and she, I'm assuming you tell her the news of the horses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she probably says, "Oh, how convenient that we were given 6 and one of our companions already has his own mount. It must be fate."
Yes, definitely fate.
Yeah. So the real question is, what, if anything, does anyone do before you guys make the conscious effort to leave and ride out? Oh, right. Jackson went to the Thunderers. I apologize. So Jackson, you went back to the Thunderers.
Well, you're not talking.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, you're not talking. You went back to the Thunderer Clan Hall, and when you arrive there, the gates are open, as they were at some other point, but there are still, like, the 2 guards there as traditional, and it appears business as normal is ongoing. And you walk up to the gates, and there's a dwarf, kind of a surly-looking dwarf with, like, a reddish beard. He's got, like, a pike, or probably like a poleaxe, actually. And he says, "Hail, traveler. What can the Thunderer clan do for you today?" Sure, yeah, you give him the dwarven greeting. And he responds in kind with the appropriate greeting and says, "So, you wish to enter? All we will need is your name." "Ah, yes, the Bronzebeards. They are in attendance. You can see them if you would like." And you give them the Hannibal D. Solomon name, and you can see, like, he like scratches it down on a scroll, and like puts it in like a little cage, and pushes a button, and you can see it, like, or I should say pulls a lever, and you can see it, like, it flies up attached to a rope to, like, the top of the ramparts, where you can see another dwarf kind of lean over, grab it, read it over, and then puts it back down, and it comes back down, and he pulls it out, and he looks at it, and he's like, "Ah, yes, you have been approved, Hannibal D. Sullivan. Have a wonderful day." And he allows you to pass into the Thunderer Clan Hall. And as you enter, you can see that there are quite a few dwarves kind of milling about, along with a fair amount of halflings as well, who are, all milling about and generally doing, normal stuff inside the hall. There's 4 buildings here. There's the actual clan hall where like the barracks and the residence and the feast hall and all that stuff is. There's the vault, which you were in previously, that had some kind of magic rune system to allow access to only certain individuals. There's the armory, right, where like all of the weapons and equipment and armor and all that stuff is. And then the last building is like a general like workshop area for like the blacksmith and all of that stuff. And and like they let people kind of freely go to and from. They just like to keep a record of who's there. But you know that the vault is off limits. And everybody in here seems somewhat cordial. There's a few humans milling about as well, obviously. Okay, so probably the best place to do that is in the residences. So you walk into like the residential building, and you can hear kind of the sounds of carousing and laughing and cheering and eating or whatever's going on inside the residences. And as you're kind of walking around, perhaps you find like a greeter of some sort, or like a servant, and you ask him. You say, where's the Bronzebeards? And he says, "Oi, they're just around the corner, mate." And you head off in that direction. You enter into like a smaller kind of dining area, where there are a couple of dwarves kind of sitting around a table playing like what look like cards, right, of some sort. And as you enter, no, I don't think you do recognize any of them. The reason being, this is way too far of an outpost for them to just kind of willy-nilly be walking to and fro. But you definitely recognize the look, right? Every clan of dwarves is slightly different looking. The Bronzebeards, you guessed it, have bronze-colored beards. Kind of like blondish, reddish tinge to them. And a couple of them greet you, and one probably walks up and he says, "Hi, mate. I'm Gronger." "What can I do you for?" "Well, fine, if you don't want to talk to me." Yeah, so you tell him you've stayed with the Bronzebeards for years and give the introductions, and you talk about like, "Oh yeah, that's my cousin's half-nephew's sister." On my mother's side. You regale tales of, their heroics and whatever was going on. You ask him how everything's going. Roll me a I assume you're trying to get information on like what the Bronzebeards are going through right now up in the north. Roll me a perception check, because you are a random person that walked in here and happened to know the name of somebody that is in his family, so he's probably still a bit suspicious about that before he'll give you like actual information. Is Dane going to talk to him in some form of persuasion? Yeah, persuasion is what I need. You have to convince him that to give you information, not anything else here. No, not perception. Okay, you're gonna use your inspiration. Fine, you get advantage. 25 is pretty good. 25 is good. Yeah, he probably says, "Oh, mate, it's a shame. We heard that there was some fighting going on, and well, I hate to say it, but it seems like they closed up shops. Ain't no one coming around no more." God damn it, cat, that hurts. He doesn't actually say that. There's no cats there. And he's like, "Seems like everybody's holed up now. Don't really know why. Aside from, the general stuff. But with winter coming, they're gonna have to resupply soon. We're expecting some people to show up here next couple of months or so. He's like, I'm not sure. It might, it might be, but I don't know. Haven't heard much. Takes a while for news to travel. Right, on the mother's side, absolutely. Right. Yep. Yeah, no, he says that he's not 100% certain, simply because news travels so slowly. But last he heard, everything was fine, except for they had to, kind of pull back their forces and hole up a little bit. So it's not, as we've kind of described before, it's a thing that happens every so often, where the dwarves run out of resources to kind of, fight out in the open, and they kind of retreat to their tunnels. It probably hasn't happened in your lifetime. This is probably the first time in any of the party's lifetime that this has occurred, but throughout history, I think this is a fairly common thing to occur. Every 100 or so years, probably. And in particular, as we've determined too, it's more harmful for the non-dwarves than it is for the dwarves, right? Like things like Kislev are in way more danger when the dwarves retreat than previous. Yeah, you say you never would have thought it happened in a lifetime. Yeah, he probably nods and he's like, aye, me too. But all's well that ends well. And he probably also says, come, Hannibal, have drinks with us. We will drink to being in warmer climates than those godforsaken mountains. Yeah, he says only one, and he laughs and kind of claps you on the small of the back, and he says, aye, yes, only one in dwarf terms. That means one keg. And kind of plops you down on a stool, and you guys begin drinking. Good dwarven ale too, I might add. Not the swill that any of the taverns drink. Yeah, and you guys probably just regale tales for the remainder of the day. Well, not remainder of the day, because eventually you do make it all the way back to the inn, the illustrious galleon in the knoll. So, does anybody else have anything specifically that they would like to do before we progress into the partial montage phase of you guys saddling up, giving your sad farewells to Nuln, because I know you'll miss the city tremendously. And make
of course.
There's a lot of history in this city now.
Yeah, a lot. And I think Morella just looks at the group and just says simply, "Let us go." And yeah, she gets on like one of the horses.
Okay. Yeah, so you mount up. Hannibal, it takes you a second because, you're probably a little bit tipsy. You haven't had dwarven ale in quite some time. But I assume everybody else mounts up, and the small black mare with the black mane, and it's got the traditional white diamond on its forehead. Mel actually probably went out there and with you, Kree, and probably like said, "Oh, which one shall I take? This one looks like it will be mine." And you can tell the horse knows who she is, like immediately. The horse responds as Noct would respond to you.
Oh. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, and
As I watch them.
she brushes the horse down in very smooth, solid strokes. That's right. Yeah, Hannibal, you cast beast speech real quick, and the horse like gets down on its front. It gets down on its front knees, so you can get in the stirrup easier and throw your leg over, and then it stands back up. You hear the horse speaks Japanese, and right before your beast speech ends, you just hear "baka." Yep, that's exactly what happens. So, there is a stout, smaller horse for you, Arkady, obviously, because you probably can't ride on a full-size one very easily. And so
the amount of times I've had to pick him up just to put him on a horse.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because he's probably the most dexterous of everybody.
What, you're saying my slippers don't stick to horses?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't think they do, though. I don't think it works on living objects.
It'd be so damn funny. He just walks up to the horse, steps on his leg.
Actually, just consider this as well. If you're wearing your slippers in the saddle, it's really hard to dismount you. Really hard.
Yeah.
So...
Cut off your legs. Easy.
Yeah. So this is the part where all of you get to describe to me what your horses look like.
Well,
Mine
we did it
is a
before and you
giant-
killed him, so...
Right, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Kreese is a giant lizard.
It is a giant blue lizard who is very proud to be bigger than the horses.
I mean, Hannibal's is the next.
Yeah, Hannibal.
edgy.
What if maybe you have a gelding who has like a marking on its face that looks like it's wearing a mask, right? Like it's just since wearing a physical mask would be weird and questionable. But yeah, maybe like its face is covered by like this white splotch or black splotch that looks like a mask over its face. What about you, Marilla? Sorry.
Well, since, obviously the last time we described our horses and named them, you killed them all.
That's right.
I'm going...
Sure did.
I'm going to go with just a simple all-bird colored horse.
Okay.
That maybe has like a white spot just on one of its legs, and then it's the only white spot it has.
Cool.
Out of like all of it.
Awesome. Farron, what does your horse look like?
I shall name it Maximus the Second.
Maximus the Second. Okay. It's a is it a stallion?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be a stallion.
So my horse is a truly majestic creature. Anytime you look at it, it seems that its mane kind of does that whoosh, just to show how truly amazing it is.
What coloring does it have?
He sent it in Discord.
Yes.
Oh.
So, beautiful jet black horse. Shiny coat, beautiful mane. So yeah, truly fitting for the smooth talking minstrel.
Is its name Habio?
That's a
I
good one.
think
I actually didn't get it until you said it out loud, and then it was good.
no.
And then when you call it its name, come Habio, come.
It's called Dolores.
Dolores. Okay. Dolores is a beautiful mare.
Indeed.
Liam or Megan?
I mean, I assume I can't just declare that my horse is solid steel from tip to tail.
No.
Yeah, no, figures.
It wouldn't make it very far if you were trying to travel long distances, if it were that.
Hey, if you enchant one of these things properly...
It's true. It's a good point.
I'll get back to you in a minute.
Okay. Megan?
I mean,
mine's pretty obvious.
Pure white.
I literally
white
have
everything.
shadow facts.
Yeah,
So just so we're
literally.
clear. Literally.
I didn't want to be
shadow
that guy.
Is that also the horse's name?
facts. Yes. Like, I'm legitimately...
Yeah.
My horse
is
is shadow
shadow
facts.
Literally so white it looks silver.
100%.
Yeah.
So
actually
glad I have an off-color
Flows
horse.
as it runs.
Yep. Yep.
Majestic. For sure.
Literally lightning sparkles from its hooves as you continue on. Does it also have a horn in the top of its head?
I mean...
If not you.
What, just one?
Shadowfax didn't have a horn, but, might as well.
Tricorn.
Might as well have.
You do not have a unicorn, unfortunately.
It's a tricorn, even better.
Can she? Okay. Are you perusing pictures, Liam? Is that what's going on here? Yeah, there we go. There it is.
Obviously.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Oh my
This is an
god.
all-weather, all-terrain horse.
That's amazing. Yep. Oh my god, that's incredible.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's good
Yep.
stuff. I like it. What is your ATH's name?
Again, I'll get back to you. I gotta Google Translate some stuff.
Okay, all right. your all-terrain horse, ATH, as I will call him until he has a name. That's amazing. And then here's Farron's amazing beast, amazing steed. Cool, awesome, fantastic. So the group of you are about horses, and you ride to the gates of Nuln. The North Gate, as it's called, because that's how things are traditionally labeled in medieval times. And so you ride to the North Gate, and as you're traveling through the city streets, there are people who recognize you as you're traveling, right? And maybe even some who call out to you. There's probably some peasants or something that are like, where do you travel, heroes? Does anyone answer the calls when people say stuff to them as you guys are kind of riding down the streets?
I actually look at Farron and smile.
Of course, we travel up north to vanquish more evil in these lands.
Yeah, and I think you get some cheers and some hurrahs and some other things. Cat, you will learn today the meaning of "don't come on my chair." Not during game. I love you.
We have come to vanquish the evil cat
Oh my
of the
goodness.
tables.
She's figured out how to get up here now instead of just begging to come up, so it's annoying. Yeah, and then there's also calls of
Farron, have my baby.
yeah, no, there's probably some of that. And as you guys kind of get to the gate, you've gathered a small, maybe following a small procession behind you. And there's a moment where you all are stopped in front of the gates as they're opening up or whatever. And you turn and you see the people behind you kind of perfect. 10 palto. Good. Awesome. I love it. You turn and you see the people that are kind of looking in askance of the group, maybe for words of encouragement or something. There's dull murmur that's kind of fallen over the crowd as you guys are waiting there and they're kind of behind you. Does anyone say anything, or is there simply just the moment of music playing in the background, and you guys like waiting on your horses, like for the gates to rise, and all standing there stoically and heroically.
I mean,
I know
I think
Morella's
I
not
can-
big on words.
yeah.
Farewell, the people of Nunn. We shall surely be back to spread news of our victories and share you in ale.
Yeah, roll me a performance check. That wasn't too inspiring, but I'll make you roll it anyway.
I mean,
You
what
are
is
leaving
ins-
the people in which you just saved mere days ago.
What is inspiration used for? It is used for performance.
100%.
Absolutely. A 14's, I mean, these are peasants, right? They're impressed by a 14. But someone more heroic could perhaps come along and say something else to them. But yeah, there's like cheers and, you know, jeers and whatever, and as you proceed out of the gates and start to ride through the like outlying town, it's when you start to see that like you get to like the first row of buildings, and this is where the kind of true decimation hits you. You probably realize now, perhaps rather than later, that during the incident, it wasn't just the city being attacked, but it was just the city that had a garrison of, you know, an army, a veritable army to defend them. And as you get outside of the gates and you start progressing through this outlying town, you can see the destruction. It's razed, essentially. That's Razed, in case you were curious. And there are buildings that are simply burnt to the ground. There are other buildings that are completely toppled over. There is not a massive humanity. It seems very sparse as far as how many, you know, like humans and halflings and dwarves and other races are out here. There is probably a fair row of beggars and individuals that, perhaps not knowing who you are, ask for pittances as you guys pass them. And you realize probably very quickly that the city itself was living in relative safety while these people had nothing during the entire event. And so maybe that whole moment of, you know, preaching to the crowd and, you know, being heroes is a little bit salted by the fact that all of this death and destruction outside, kind of the rancid stench of perhaps decaying bodies kind of wafts through the air. Clearly there are some places where cleanup has not yet begun. And so yeah, it's kind of like the scene as you guys are leaving.